Welcome, everyone. I'm Sue Barber, author, former IT director for a Fortune 500 company, turned executive coach, and this is the Visibility Factor podcast, where we explore how to raise your visibility and play bigger at work and in life. We'll explore key topics and welcome guests that help you shift your thinking about yourself so you can see new possibilities for your leadership. I'm on a mission to create a visibility movement for leaders to show their value and be seen for their true talent. Are you ready to take the next step towards a higher level of visibility for yourself? Let's go. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Visibility Factor podcast. This is Sue Barber, your host. Today's episode is going to be focused on the power of leading conversations. And it's so important to do this in order for you to really demonstrate and communicate the value that you bring and helping people see that from you. But before you even get started with those conversations, we have to talk about a few things that might happen for you. Let's start with the inner dialogue that you might have before you even speak to the person that you're going to talk to. And sometimes these inner monologues that we have with ourselves are helpful, and sometimes they're not. Sometimes they plant seeds of doubt, and it makes it really hard to concentrate on what you're actually going to tell the other person. So some things you might have in your brain: is this person even listening to me? Do I need to impress them? Am I saying things in the right way? But those get in the way of you actually communicating in the best way for this person. And what we're trying to do is really lead the conversation and show the value that we bring. So we're going to talk about ways to overcome this internal chatter that you might have in your head. I've definitely had in mine. And talk about ways that you can really take charge of the conversations that you're having. The second thing I want you to be aware of is the power of intention, meaning, are you really planning your conversation, or are you just saying whatever comes out first? I'd love for you to step back and before you say anything, say, what is it that I want to say? And how do I need to say it? So let's look at a couple examples. Hey, I put these reports together for you. I sent them in an email. Everything looks good. Plain and simple. I communicated, the information, but there's no value add there. There's nothing extra that makes me stand out. The second one could be, hey, I put those presentations and reports together for you, and I noticed an opportunity that we could do this differently. I sent you a couple different examples of what I'm thinking. I'd love your feedback so we can incorporate the best version in the final presentation. So do you hear the difference? In the second version, you're not just delivering something. You're actually collaborating, you're thinking ahead, and you're adding value. Now you have to weigh out your specific circumstances and see what makes sense. In that situation, your boss might say, whatever you come up with is great, I trust you. Or you might need to say, hey, I don't know if there's any new information that's missing. Could we add that in before we present tomorrow? These are conversations, but the goal for you is to find something, some way, somehow to stand out a bit more than anyone else would. Now, we might feel like, that's extra work. It's a lot of extra work. But believe me, I am not someone who wants someone to do more work than less. I'm all about the 80-20 rule. 80% is generally good enough to go forward. And then we tweak things along the way if we have to. But if there's a return on your investment, if you spent 15 minutes doing something, would it make a difference? Would someone see you differently because you did that? You have to weigh that out for yourself and figure out if it makes sense. But if you do that and they see something in you that's different than what they've seen before, that could be an amazing opportunity for you to take advantage of. There's also different ways to lead conversations, obviously in person. But also, let's think about emails, because emails are a way that we generally communicate in addition to Teams and Slack and all these other tools that we have. But if we do something in the written form, we want to think about how to lead conversations there too. And you might not think about this. You might only think about it when you're talking to someone. But if you put something in an email and at the bottom of it, you say, what do you think? Or it's up to you, whatever you want to do. That puts you in a position of not being an equal with them anymore. That puts them above you and you below. And what we're trying to do is always have you show up as an equal. So how can you do that? You can change some things to make sure you're showing value, just like we did in that previous example. But here's what you could say. Instead of saying, what do you think? Or it's up to you, you could say, I've put this together and would love your feedback. Let's collaborate on this. I think we can create something really amazing. Collaboration is an equal, right? It's not you telling me what to do and me listening to you and doing it. What we're trying to do is create a more equal partnership, and collaboration is a big part of that, and really seeing yourself as an equal with the other person. So you might actually be in a one-on-one with someone, and you might also have something like, hey, can we have a conversation about this topic, whatever that is? I really need your help. Instead of saying something like that, what if you do, I've been thinking about this project and I have some ideas. I'd love to brainstorm with you and see how we can make this even better. Again, this is coming from an equal partnership, collaboration standpoint. This creates a big ripple effect. When you start to lead conversations and add value consistently, people remember how you made their lives easier, how you came up with innovative ideas to do something, or you had a different way of looking at something that person didn't think about. It helps you to stand out. They might talk to your boss, or maybe even your boss is the one you're talking to and they see it. When I had a class many years ago, and I think I might have mentioned on the podcast previously, but I learned a long time ago that your boss is your client. And once I learned that, it helped me to start showing up differently. That person is my client, right? I'm doing more things to make sure it's high quality, that I'm thinking it through, that I'm preparing, I'm doing things with intention. And you start to pay more attention to what they need and opportunities to help and presenting information in a way that's useful to them. This is really transformational. So if it's something you don't think about, try to start to think this way about your boss or peers of your boss, because it changes the way you show up. It allows you to have more intention in those conversations and be able to make a much better impression on them at the end of the day. So let's switch into the visibility action plan for today. I'd love to have you think about what I've shared today. What resonates with you? What shifts can you make to start to communicate in a different way that shows more value, that is intentional, that allows you to make sure that you're showing up in the best way? Here's a couple questions. What value can I add to this conversation? That's a great question to prepare before you go in and have a conversation, or even before you write an email. How can I present my ideas in a way that invites collaboration and showcases my leadership? Remember, every interaction is an opportunity for visibility. And you might just think, I'm just writing an email, it's no big deal. But sometimes emails can be taken and interpreted in various ways, and you want yours to be interpreted in the best way. Remember, it's not about doing more work. It's about leveraging the work that you already are doing, or the meetings that you have, or the conversations that are already planned. How can you take advantage of them and show that you're being strategic, that you are framing your conversations in a way that shows value and positions you as a leader? I'd love to hear how this goes for you. I'd love for you to share any experiences that you're having with this, where you made this shift yourself and you started to really focus on the value that you're adding in conversations and what it's doing for you. How is it positioning you as a leader and showing people that you're ready for the next step? Thanks so much for joining today on the Visibility Factor podcast, and we'll catch you on the next one. I wanted to share a quick announcement with you. The Visibility Factor podcast solo episodes will now be less than 10 minutes. I hope that's beneficial for you to be able to listen to the quick bites of information and be able to apply the practical knowledge and ideas and resources that I share in a faster way. I know it's not always easy to even find 20 minutes nowadays. I hope you find these shorter episodes beneficial and you can leverage them and share them out with other people. Thanks so much for joining and being a part of the Visibility Factor podcast community. And I really do appreciate any feedback that you want to share. I'd love to hear what you think of the new format. Thanks so much for joining today on the Visibility Factor podcast, and we'll catch you on the next one. Thanks so much for listening to the Visibility Factor podcast. Remember that visibility starts with small steps that are intentional and consistent each day. Be bold, be visible, be the leader you were meant to be. Find us and subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and wherever else you listen to podcasts. Follow us on all of our social media platforms, which are highlighted in the show notes. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time on the Visibility Factor podcast.